What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel, and I have a super unique one for you today. As a lot of you probably know, Halo Infinite early released their multiplayer recently this past week, marking the 20th anniversary of Halo. And if you're like me, you probably grew up playing these games. So you know, on this channel, we do typically Python and other software tutorial series. We've done apps, we've done widgets, and we've done just base Python programming, as well as a few games. And I thought what would be super fun in honor of the Halo release is if we did a little bit of a Halo kind of Space Invaders style game. I'm going to start every video in the series by kind of demoing the game so that you guys see what the end goal is and hopefully think that that's something worth building to. So I'm going to demo the game that we built here a little bit, and I am pretty proud of it. You can hear just kind of the epic soundtrack in the background. I've left instructions for how to play and said, you know, click anywhere to begin. So let's get into it. We've got a little some soundtrack playing in the background. I've got some sound effects. The enemies in each wave are automatically spawned in, and they kind of randomly pick heights to spawn in from, and I've set them up with a specific speed to come in at. And I've added some impact sound effects that maybe aren't the greatest. I've also made it to where each wave increases the number of enemies, so you can see we're on level 2 now, and we should have more enemies. I got these little 8-bit Halo icons from the internet. And in the series, in the actual tutorials, I'll talk through kind of how to grab images, how to scale them all to the size that you want. As well as there's a free tool on the internet for removing the background from images. So if you've dealt with kind of the super annoying, like you pull in an image you want to use and you have that like white rectangle around it, no worries. We'll go over how to do that too.
Game over.
All right, so there we go. So that's the game demo, and whatever stage of the project you're at and following along with, hope you're enjoying it. Be sure to leave a like on the channel, a subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying it, and good luck with your code. All right, part 5 of our Halo Space Invaders with Python and Pygame Tutorial series. And so far in the first 4 parts, we built a pretty sweet game. You have this little Master Chief. We control him with WASD, 4 directions, and the enemies shoot at us at randomly generated intervals, and we can delete them. They can do some damage to us. And we're not displaying player health yet, so in this video we'll be doing a health bar as well as taking a look at game over conditions and actually like restarting. So let's get into it. The first thing is, I don't really love that the player's a little bit bigger than the enemies. I think he looks a little too big for the screen, so I'm going to cut it down to 70 by 70. And I just like the size of that a little bit. But again, you can leave it as is if you want. It certainly is up to you. That's a very customizable thing in the game, and it's just totally up to you. So let's go ahead and take a look at actually creating the player's health bar on the screen. So it's going to be a new function that we're just going to put inside of the player class because, you know, inside of the enemy, there's really no need to put a health bar since we're making it to where if they get shot once, they're done. So let's go ahead and define a health bar, and all we have to do is pass in the window that we're going to draw it on. And it's really going to be surprisingly simple. We're just going to draw 2 rectangles on the screen. We're going to draw a red one in the background that's showing max health. So we'll do 25500, which is the RGB value for red, right? It's red, green, blue. And then it needs some coordinates, and this part might seem a little confusing. We're going to start it at the X, which is the left side of the image, and then we're going to do self dot for the X coordinate, but then for the Y coordinate, we're going to draw it at the Y coordinate plus self dot image dot get height. And this is going to get the height of our player, and it's going to shift it downward on the screen by that height. And then since we don't want it touching the character's feet, we'll just scooch it 5 more down. And then self.image.get width, and that's how wide we're going to make the bar. So it's going to go from our left side to our right side of our image. And then let's just make it a height of 10. So we did x, y, width, and then height. So starting x coordinate, starting y coordinate, and then how wide we want it to be, and then how tall. And that's our red rectangle. I'm going to copy that whole thing for our second rectangle, and you'll see we only need to modify it slightly now because that's representing the maximum health bar. This second one is going to be green, and it's going to actually be our current health bar. So we're going to keep the starting point at just the same spot, but what we're really modifying now is the width. So instead of just self.image.getWidth, it's going to be getWidth times self.health, and then it's going to be divided by self.maxHealth, right? And I'll talk about that in just a sec. I can't really talk and type as we learned in the last video. So let me just talk about this real quick. The get width is the maximum width of the bar. So when you have full health, right, health and max health are going to be the same variable. So this self.health divided by self.maxHealth is going to be equal to 1. And so we want the green bar to fill the screen when you're at max health. But then as you're losing health, this variable will go down and down and down, and this will become a smaller and smaller fraction. And so this bar will keep incrementing down. So that's the idea behind the health bar. And then the last thing that we need to do is we need to modify the draw function. So I'm actually going to steal the draw function from the character class, and we're going to modify it for the player now. We're going to come in here, and we are going to say, yes, we want all of this same stuff, so we can get rid of all of this. And instead of retyping all of it, which would still work technically, it'll be easier to just do super.draw at window, and then we'll add self.healthBar on the window as well. And so that should be all we need for a health bar. Let's go ahead and run just that stage real quick. Let's see what we did. Super has no attribute draw. That is because I forgot parentheses in my haste. Here we go. All right, so we got our green rectangle. I'll go get shot real quick and see. Sweet. So we're losing, 10% of our health every time just with that quick function. So let's move on. The next thing I want to take a look at is going to be checking for game over. Alrighty. And so I'm going to create a new variable that I'm going to call game over, and we'll set it equal to false to start the game. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the conditions that will set game over equal to true. And we're going to do that inside of while running because it's part of kind of the game logic. So what I'm going to say is while running, if lives is less than or equal to 0, or the player's health is less than or equal to 0, right? And I just do less than or equal to. In theory, the game will end when they equal 0, but we should do less than or equal to if you get hit by 2 projectiles in the same instant, or 2 enemies hit the left edge and your lives goes negative temporarily. It's just better to do it this way. So we'll say at that point, game over is going to be equal to true. And then what I think would be useful is we have it sit on a game over screen for a little bit of time, and then it'll take you back to like the restart menu. So we're going to use another variable that I'm going to say game over counter. And this is going to be very similar to how we did the cooldown scenario. And I'm going to set it plus equal to 1. So the only way we can use that variable is if we come up here and we actually initialize it and say game over counter equals 0 to start the game. And then we'll come down into our game over counter if lives are negative or the player's health is negative. Now we'll come in here and say if game over, and we're just kind of separating out functionality. There's no reason you couldn't put some of this together, but this is going to be a little bit easier. So we'll say game over text, and we'll create some new text that's going to be equal to main text, just like we used for the lives and the score. And it's going to be main text.render, and then we give it the text we want. And it's a little alien reference, but I always, instead of just saying game over, I like to say game over man. But whatever you want your game over text to be, and then put it on the screen. And then I think we'll do green again. Like I said, it's Halo. Green looks pretty sweet. And then let's get that drawn. So window.blit, just like always. And then game over text. Game over text. And then we're going to give it its coordinates for drawing it on. And this, we're actually going to want to put it dead smack in the middle of the screen. So you could find this same value by doing some guess and check. But there's a kind of an elegant solution to make sure it's in the middle of the screen, and that's going to be using that get width, just like we used for the health bar. It's going to be game over text.get width and then divided by 2, right? Because we want it in the middle of the screen. So then we'll put it at 350. It's just a good bit down on the screen, and let's see if that does it. And actually, we're going to want this part in update window because it's a piece of drawing, and we've been putting everything involving drawing in update window, so we'll throw it in there. But we are also going to use some functionality if game is over in our running loop. So if game over, I like the idea of pausing on that game over screen, right? And we'll do a counter check. So if game over counter is greater than, and here's where we'll say, I'm going to put it in terms of seconds. So frame rate times 5. That means we're going to leave this text on for 5 seconds. But then once it's over, we're going to set running equal to false. So we'll actually close out of the game. And otherwise, we'll say continue. So run the loop again. And that's how we're going to be incrementing this counter when the lives are done. And then once it's been over for 5 seconds, we're going to set the running variable equal to false, and that's how we'll end the game. So let's take a look and see if we can get game over conditions real quick. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm not that good at this game. I'll run into some guys. Oh, that reminds me. Before we test the game over, I want to really quickly add collision for the player with the enemy, because it should delete an enemy. It's going to be a really easy add here. We'll come down to where we're checking for collision with the enemies and for shooting and everything. And we'll just add for enemy in enemies another if statement. And we'll say if collide, and then we'll check between the enemy and the player. And then this is where we'll do similarly to when he gets shot by a bullet, player.health minus equals 10. But then we're also going to delete the enemy. So enemies.remove that enemy. And that should be all we have to do. And then we don't need to check if it's off screen if it's collided. So we'll make that an elif statement. And now it should be a lot easier even to get game over. So let's see. We just added enemy collision detection. Let's see. I'll get shot. I want to run into this guy, see if he deletes. Yep, nice. And you can see my health is going down. So next time I get hit here, should give us game over and then end the game. So there we go. Game over, man. I can't move anymore. And in a second or two here, there we go. The game ends. So that's pretty cool. But obviously it's not ideal. If you want a game that's really replayable, then you don't just want to close the game every time that you die. You want to give them the option to play again. So we're going to do something. I'm going to create what I'm calling a start menu, and this will pop up right at the beginning of the game, so you're not just launched into the action, and then it'll also be what pops up after you die. So we'll set a new font, and we'll make it bigger because this is going to be on the start menu now. So pygame.font.sysfont. If you want to keep using the same font, just make sure you copy in the line from before. We're going to make this bigger. Let's say 50, and we'll do true, and then we'll do false. Okay, and then in here we'll say running equals true, just like our other loop, and we'll say wall running, and we're going to copy in the background window.blit. So essentially what we're doing is we're building the skeleton of the game, but we're not having it play yet until we do something to initialize it. So we're going to draw the background in just like before, but now we're going to create a start label, and we're going to do text.render, and we're going to have it say click anywhere to begin. Okay, and let's say true for alias 255 50 20. Just kind of a good, mostly red color that shows up nice on my background. That's just pick whatever color you want. It could look good in green again, and we're going to draw it onto the screen. Window.blit at location of start label, comma, sorry, that's the text, and then the location is going to be equal to width of the screen divided by 2 minus, again, start label dot get width. You should be familiar with this one by now, divided by 2, and then we'll drop that at 350 as well. And then we're going to do pygame.display.update just inside of here. And then we'll say for event in pygame.event.get, right? And we'll say if event.type is equal to pygame.quit. And it may seem like we're recreating some of the stuff we did very early on, and we sort of are, but it's because we want this menu kind of layer to run when the game is over and kind of to be a jumping off point for each iteration of the game. So then we add a second one in here, which will be pygame.mouse button down. And so this, when we say click anywhere to begin, this is how we actually handle that. We say if the mouse button is down, then run that main loop function that we did before. So we're going to get rid of just calling that by default, and instead we're going to, and back here you want to throw down just one level in pygame.quit. That'll help you not have a infinite loop. And then instead of calling the main loop at the root level, we're going to call start menu at the root level. And so this should give us a menu that's going to say click anywhere to begin when the game loads in. Perfect. And then if I click this, I'm hoping the game is going to start. And it's not. So let's take a look at what we need in here. So it's going to be, this is indented one too many times. Let's try that. Click anywhere to begin. There we go. We're playing. Now let me die, and let's see if that menu pops back up. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm not particularly good at video games. Of course, if I try to get shot, then I probably will accidentally miss. There we go, game over. So when this finishes, I'm hoping it takes us back to our menu. There we go, click anywhere to begin. And we're back to the start. So just like that, we've put in some restart logic. We added a health bar. And the last thing that's really going to take this to like a fun, replayable game that also just like gets you excited to play it is going to be adding some sound effects and kind of taking it to the next level. So we'll mess with some style things in the next game, but that's also really a great place to kind of make the game your own. So if you have any questions about what you've seen so far, be sure to let me know about in the comments below. But I hope you're enjoying the tutorial series. If you are, be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a ton. And let me know what you want to see in a future video in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, good luck with your code, and thanks for watching. Thanks. Bye.